Today on the We Invested podcast, we have Curtis May, the host of the Practical Wealth Show podcast and the creator and owner of Practical Wealth Advisors. Curtis, how are you doing today?
I am great. I'm great, Wesley. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining. And before we get started, would you mind letting the people know how they can find you on the internet, whether it's your website or social media?
So our website is what is my website? Practicalwealthsolutions.net. I have a podcast. You can just search iTunes for the Practical Wealth Show. You can find me is it Curtis May 4755 or something on Instagram, and you can find me on IG, and on YouTube. I do a lot on LinkedIn. Just search me YouTube. Just search the Practical Wealth Show. We do a lot of like this videos, and I also teach a lot of video lessons. So I really consider myself a financial educator. So I like people to kind of know, research me before you call me, because I'm when you hear me talk today, I'm gonna give a little bit of contrarian advice that's going to step on a lot of toes of I was looking at your show, some previous guests that I kind of disagree with. And but it's because everybody's got to have, there's no one way to do money, right? And so,
Right.
so we talk about that, but that's how to find me. I'm very educational, and our theme is kind of wealth outside of Wall Street. So I'm not a big fan of equities only. We're big fans in Practical Wealth of cash flow. You can't eat equity, so we want you to have cash flow.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that 1000%. And I love the contrarian perspective, man. So I'm excited for this interview.
My
Um,
nickname, the Contrarian. So,
awesome, man. So let's just start from the top, man, and talk a little bit about, where you grew up and where you're from.
so I grew up in. No, I'm from North Philly Ho, and I basically lived in Philly all my life. And I really had a great childhood. I was blessed because my family, so I'm a little bit weird in that my family was always self-employed. We owned a supermarket. We had little stores, corner stores, a supermarket in Philly growing up. And it's funny, my dad used to do, before Amazon, we were doing deliveries of groceries in 1975, right? So
Wow.
he was very, very, very innovative. And I'd heard from the time so we worked at the store, and I was at 13 on the cash register before the cash register would make change. So I had
Mm-hmm.
to have conversations with adults, and they would go, all right, can I give you a quarter so you give me back even money? So I had to calculate that. I was like, what now? I had to calculate giving them back the right change and have a conversation without before registers count the money for you. So people, don't know how to count. And you'll see, and my sister and I will both work the cash register. So you want to be, I was able to communicate with people that we learned from our parents. I learned from my dad. He always say, I heard from the time I was 7, you'll never make your money work for somebody else. And so
Mm.
I never really got that go to school, get your education, get a good job talk. I went to school, but I thought you majored in business to go into business. It didn't even occur to me to get a job.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So I
And I
didn't have to
definitely,
unlearn a lot of stuff, that baggage that people are bogged down with. I was blessed because I didn't have to really unlearn that stuff.
absolutely. So how do you think that impacted you, just growing up around entrepreneurship and just kind of taking matters into your own hands since a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I always had it. It helped me because I saw that. So that was my model. My dad handled stuff. We had a business. I started to understand. I would go to cash and carry with him to or to get. I understood wholesale and retail. You get it at this price by
Hmm.
the case, and you sell it at this price, right? And I understood that that is in every business. I used to go to the dock. So if y'all ever saw Rocky where he was punching the meat, I remember being at those places at 5, 6, 7 years old, buying meat, slicing it up so we can sell it because we had two butchers. And before that, my dad learned how to cut meat. So we had these little corner stores, and he started to learn how to sell meat. So he would just, learn how to buy stuff right. And so I don't know that I knew that, but that wasn't foreign to me. And I knew you had to work. My dad used to say your store's got to be open. So I will, got to sell stuff. And so I remember we were raising what are we doing? Softball league. So this guy grabbed us up and said, look, we're going to play Little League. He's a big fan of Negro Leagues back in the day. And so he's like, we're going to play baseball. And the city was giving away these crappy uniforms. He said, no, we're not wearing that. He said, we're going to get our own uniforms. He figured out how to do it. I went door to door selling chances of people I didn't know, just going door to door in our neighborhood. And he taught us how to do that, how to keep records, and we raised money, and we had the best uniforms in the league. We did the same thing. We took we're like 10, 11, 12. Okay. We took a bus of people to the Baseball Hall of Fame and the Football Hall of Fame.
Wow.
By raising our own money, so, stop waiting for somebody to do it for you. This other guy's name is Mr. Mack, instilled in us, listen, you can control your own stuff.
Absolutely, man. So it sounds like you guys were just like, I mean, figuring it out since a young age and learning all these valuable lessons that, I mean, certain things that you really can't learn in business school. You just have to learn by having that hands-on experience and just going out and doing it. Like you said, not waiting on other people. And that's something I
don't know as there's nothing I learned. I hate to say this, I might step with some toes. There's nothing I learned in school that I use today in business at all. At all. So, you got to get good mentors. A lot of it's self-taught. You learn by doing stuff. And that's your experience is the best teacher. I always tell people activity produces knowledge. Knowledge does not produce activity.
Wow. Nah, that's deep. That's deep. Activity produces knowledge. I'm gonna have to write that one down. So, just transitioning and moving forward, man, we talked a little bit about, you spent time in North Carolina, even though you were from Philly. What did you gain, or what did you take away from that experience? What was that transition like for you, going from up north to moving to the South?
It was interesting. So I went from north. I went to school in Boston originally, to this little Christian college up in Boston. I got mad at the coach and went down there. It was different, good, because I'd always, I went to a private school in high school, mostly white, and then but I lived in North Philly, right? So I was always bilingual. Okay. You know what I mean? So I could go in and out, and when you play ball, the best games aren't in the suburbs, right? There, you got to go into the hood to get good games. So you kind of have that ability to code switch, if you will, right? And I think that I'll tell you a real interesting story. So because sometimes you get caught up in this black world, not to go there, but I remember one time we were going over to it was a Q party over at Wake Forest, right? And so, which I'm sure you've been down here too. And so we went there, but it was nothing going on. It was kind of whack. So we go, all right, I remember driving by the frat houses at Wake. I was like, okay, you know what? They serve free beer there. Let's go there, right? And so I'm like, so we're walking on the quad. I'm looking, all right, we need an inn. And it was like, so I'm looking, and I'm like, all right, so I see two white guys and a preppy brother, right? So I was like, okay, there's our inn. So now I started a conversation, and I steered it so hey, would you like to go here with us? I said, so all you got to do is you got to have your driver's license, get your hand stamped, and then we're like, boom, we're in. They're playing like rock and roll, Billy Idol. I'm jamming. I'm talking to people because I'm eclectic music taste. My friends are over there in the corner looking uncomfortable. I look around. What are y'all doing? I says, what do you think's going to happen when you got to Winston-Salem State and you're in business? You got to be able to deal, and not be intimidated and be in your comfortable skin. I'm happy my kids are confident like that, where they are. And so I've tried to instill in that and get them out there so they've seen stuff. So they look, I'm here and I'm here. I have the right to be here, and I'm taking over, and that's what you want to be able to do. And seeing that, I thought people could be handicapped by that and need to get out there. And that was a big thing. Other than that, it was like, if you all saw the movie School Days, I was introduced to bands and fraternities and sororities and that whole thing. So that was fun. Okay. And,
absolutely.
That was different.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way, man. And shout out to like all the HBCUs. Definitely had like a great time there, You know, a lot of my well, one of my aunts went to a HBCU, North Carolina Central.
And so they're doing great now. So now I look
Mm-hmm.
at them, Winston's got a big donation. Chris Paul is graduated
Mm-hmm.
from there recently. And I beef I had one time because I remember I was going to join this business fraternity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading in the school paper. Somebody at the base, it's so long ago, but it was like, hey, have you ever thought about being in business? Because I started basically what is my business now. I started in school in my dorm room.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what did he say? Basically paraphrasing, no, I just really want to get a job in some corporation and work for somebody else. And so that was such a turnoff to me that I didn't even join. I was like, are you kidding me? This is the president of this thing and he don't want to be in business. I couldn't comprehend that. And I think back, this is the 80s. So it was all about who you worked for, right? And
Mm-hmm.
getting a job. And I had a guy who used to introduce himself, John Brown, IBM. Like, so they were very into where they worked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was never in that. I was into making money. Okay. I wanted to make
Facts.
money, right?
Facts.
And so because I was introduced to the financial services business in college, and I won't say the name, but it is it's basically network marketing meets insurance, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to people making 20, 30, $40,000 a month, and I was like 20, and I was like, are you kidding me? And so I was no more good. So people call me out, they're making 35, 40, 50 grand a year coming out of school. I was like, what? I wasn't even any good yet, but I had the vision, right?
Right.
And I had met people that I was unimpressed by, my basketball player ego. And I was like, all right, well, if these knuckleheads can do it, I just got to stay the course, right? And it was a winding road, but as we get into some of the stuff, that's what it was. But one of my dads used to always say, look, it takes most people don't give them efforts time to compound, right? So my dad used to say it
Mm-hmm.
takes 3 to 5 years to build a business,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people are suffer from too much short-term thinking, and they jump around too much, and what you need is inside of you, and you just got to give yourself time to learn. Another problem I see is people don't like selling, right? Selling is, one time I was doing this talk up here in Scores, 300 business owners in there. I'm doing a marketing talk. And I asked them, well, how do y'all like sales? And I said, how many of y'all like sales? And so this is business owners now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 10% of the hands went up. I was like, I wish y'all could see this. I am astonished. I said, what the hell business you think you're in if you're not in sales? And I said, let me give y'all a good definition. I said, sales is helping people make a future decision that is good for them. Okay. And I believe in educational based marketing, through education, help them intellectually justify that decision, right? So it's educational based, and sometimes the decision is not to work with you, but you do have to sell something. My friend, he has a great podcast called the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. You should try to find him. Jay Jones, he's from Philly also. He says, listen, you have to sell something. It's 6 things you can sell. You can sell your physical products, your digital products, your services. You can sell somebody else's physical products, somebody else's digital products, or somebody else's services, or any combination thereof. But you do have to sell something if you want to make more money than the average bear. And so we have this view that sales is negative. I'm not a talker, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, then you're going to get what everybody else gets, because there's only 2 things in business, either sales or supporter sales. Okay. So,
Right.
I tell my kids, if you want to make money, you need to be on the I'm bringing in revenue side of the business. Because if you're not, then if people don't bring in the money, you don't have no work to do.
I was taking notes. Can you do me a favor? I'm taking a lot of notes right now. So when you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing.
Okay. Yep.
Would you
Yep.
would you mind telling me, repeating that sales definition that you said earlier? I
The
like that.
definition of sales, and I got this from look up a guy named Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. So I said, because I have no original thoughts, right? So Dan Sullivan, but helping people make a future decision that is good for them.
I like that.
Okay. So, which means that if you're selling, you're not talking people into stuff. You're asking questions to help them, you know, identify if your thing will help them solve their problem. Entrepreneurs solve problems for a profit.
Absolutely. Man, this is you've been dropping a lot of gems this whole episode, man. This is gonna be a good one.
I want to create value for your listeners. So
Absolutely. Look, and I don't want to jump around too much. I want to stay. I want to keep it on the. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So now you're transitioning. We're transitioning from the college period, and now we're talking about the current company that you've grown and expanded now up until this point. So my question is, what is Practical Wealth Advisors?
So Practical Wealth Advisors, on the website, we have it as Practical Wealth Solutions, is what I do something called principles-based planning. So but on the site, you'll see principles drive strategy and strategy drives tactics. Okay. So let's start with what I believe. So I believe typical financial planning is broken. Okay. So this is the reason Practical Wealth exists. All right. So I teach principles that help our clients become and remain financially free. Okay. So I would argue that what you think is traditional, I call it typical financial advice, is not designed to do that. Okay. It doesn't do that. So there's two schools of thought. So this is the why. So I'm giving you all the why, and then I'll tell you what it looks like. But this is what I discovered. Now, I didn't always discover this because I was typical for the first 20 years of my career. All right. I taught what I call the accumulation theory: buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, max out your 401k, pay your house off early, buy term investor difference, that stuff. Okay. All that Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman stuff, put your money in mutual funds. I heard one of your guests, she's like, oh, I'm series 6 and 7, and I got all this stuff. I was like, okay, that doesn't help. And so let me tell you, hear me, guys. That stuff is toxic if you're in business. You can't follow any of that stuff. Okay. Because it's designed for for the companies to make money, not you. Okay. None of it generates cash flow. So what you're trying to become financially free, right? So the accumulation theory is designed for you to send money away from your business and lock it up in solo 401ks and lock it up in mutual funds and lock it up where you can't touch it. Okay. I mostly work with real estate investors, small business owners, and people that aspire to that. And I'm going to tell you, planning is different. This is what I discovered, piece by piece. So I was doing that. Then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad in like 2000. I was like, what he's talking about and what I'm doing is different. And it took me probably the decade of 2000s to kind of figure it out, and then, or to codify it to where I can start understanding it and share it with people. But basically, if you look at what I call corporate finance, here's what they teach. You took a corporate finance course, what I call the velocity method, right? So there's accumulation, there's velocity. So velocity is an economic principle, which means the movement of money. So if you ever listen to rich people, if you ever listen to Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful says, listen, if I give you $500,000, how soon, am I getting my money back? So he can so he's got his capital back out. So that means he has no risk because he got all his money back out, right? But he still has equity, and that deal is still driving cash flow, right? And so what he's done, now he can put it in something else and get that money back. And that's velocity of money. So when you look at in real estate, that's the Burr method, right? Buy, renovate, refinance, repeat. Get the money out from the cash out, go buy another one, right? I spoke last March at the Laundromat Millionaire Conference down in Fort Lauderdale. I was a keynote down there. And so as studying the laundromat industry, which is, y'all look at that. Y'all are sleeping on that. That's a big deal. And I got an owner that worked from scratch, like within 1 year that I work with out in Washington, that his mat is up to like $60,000, $70,000 a month from scratch. Okay. And but the point was the key was, how can you get people in and out? So you want better, more efficient machines and dryers that hold more stuff so you can turn over the machines faster. That's velocity in business. right? And so, or if you're in the hair business, how many heads can you get in a day? You know, how many chairs do you have so you can serve more people? In a restaurant, how many times you turn over this table? So that's velocity of money. So y'all are got to focus on velocity. So you don't need to send money away. Your problem for entrepreneurs is storage. You need to save money. You need to store it somewhere so that you can invest in your number one asset, which is your business, right? And then so you want cash flow. See, you want to focus on cash flow. You want to buy assets. And so what's the rich dad definition of an asset? Something that puts the money in your pocket every month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have an asset and it don't bring you cash flow, it's not a very good asset. Okay. So most people, I've got people with, $2 million I've met in qualified plans or in mutual funds, and it doesn't generate any cash flow because they're focusing on a meaningless metric called net worth.
Mm-hmm.
Can't eat equity, right? We focus on protection. Most people don't play defense, so they're underinsured, leverage. And so you want to look at, so you really have to do now everything I just said. Like, so people rent term insurance. You look at banks and corporations, they buy a whole life, they buy permanent insurance, and that's where they store their liquidity, right? So the funny thing is those strategies work in personal finance and they're safer, right? So the principles, I teach 5, we'll come back to them if you want. The strategy, I teach something cash flow, how to manage your cash flow properly. And I teach something called, you may have heard of, that I'm just starting to get out in the Black community. There's a lot of people teaching it incorrectly, in my opinion. Become your own banker. So I specialize in that, but I put a planning wrap around that. So I teach principles, then that strategy, and then the tactics. Tactics are products that you buy. So when we talk to people, we literally, I have access to all the financial products on the financial club rack, so to speak, but it doesn't matter until you have a plan. See, most people lead with, oh, I got this great, my fees are lower, I've got this great product, the products are better. Products are irrelevant. Products are just tools. There's no financial product out there that will take you to glory financially. Okay.
Right.
And so that's the thing. So when people leave, that's why I say it's broken, because if it was a science, nobody would ever lose money. Okay. So our firm is built to really teach that and help people develop a strategy to generate passive income greater than expenses, and to make sure that you don't lose, right? So you play defense. Like I tell you, like, I'm the defensive coordinator. I'm trying to make sure you don't lose. Offense is your job. Offense is looking at, hey, there's 4 asset classes, business, talking to your audience, right? Your number one asset is your business. Real estate. If you look at the Forbes 400, how are these people rich? They build businesses, they buy real estate, they buy paper, but paper is not stock market. Ain't nobody got rich investing in mutual funds. There's a book, I interviewed this guy on my show, Barry Dyke. He's got Pirates of Manhattan. One of his chapters is like, I never met a man who made their millions in mutual funds, unless you own the mutual fund company. Okay. So all of that's an illusion. All right. And so let's do what they do, because see, investing is not about, I'm probably going on too long on this, you could pull me back. The investing is not about buying something, it's about becoming something. So you have to become a good investor, right? You have to become a good business owner. What are you investing in business? Marketing, sales, systems, and people. So our firm really focuses on teaching people the 5 principles of personal finance, the 3 rules of investing. Then we have strategies that we teach them to implement. And then once we figured out the plan, we do a holistic planning. Then we pick the products that help them do what they want to do, which is become financially free. And my argument is that typical advice is they're focused on assets under management that they brag about. Oh, I've got $20 million of assets under management. Well, that is not sending any money back to you. That's just, they want assets under management so they can charge you fees for the next 20 or 30 years. So the whole system is designed to make money off of you. Now, I'm not saying it's bad, because if you're not willing, well, it's bad, but I'm saying it's if you're not willing to become, then you should do that. You should max out your 401k. Right? You should, if you don't want to think about your money, I always tell people, don't call Curtis, because it's your money, it ain't mine, right? And I'm going to teach you to think and how to be a good investor. Then have. So that's a long story, but that's the practical wealth philosophy that we believe financial planning is broken. I want to teach you principles to help you become and remain financially free. We've been doing it this way about it's been expanding, but I started doing the banking thing in like 2010. And then every year I work at getting better. So I just layer on new stuff, because how can I get better? How can I say it simpler? How can I serve people better? And that's kind of what so that's taking me, that process has taken me to one of my primary area of revenue is insurance, life insurance, right? Life insurance, disability insurance. And
Mm-hmm.
so my marketing, because I realized I was not in the financial business, I was in the marketing business,
Mm-hmm.
has taken me to, not for bragging, just to show you these principles I do are transferable. You can do it in your business. To number 15 in one of the top companies in the world. I was number 15 in production with me and two virtual assistants. Okay, just in personal productivity of where I haven't made an outbound call in 3 years. I don't go to
Wow.
clients' houses. My business is national. Um, so if you're listening to me, I can probably help you. if you don't think oh, this guy's crazy, if you get past that.
No, that's incredible. That's incredible, man. And I like what you said about, investing in your business, like the different options that you have when you're reinvesting back into your business. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you say product, sales, marketing, and people?
So marketing,
Mm-hmm.
sales, systems, all wealth is a product of systems and people. Like I hired my first virtual assistant, that almost doubled my income because it freed up a lot of paperwork that I shouldn't have been doing. And I had fought it for like 4 or 5 years. Oh, I can't afford it. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, all right, I got to do this. And then, just bogging, like taking insurance applications,
Mm-hmm.
getting that and inputting them into our process. I kind of gave that away. So anything I don't want is service. It's only like 3 things I should be doing. And so most
Mm-hmm.
of y'all are doing too much stuff. Okay. And you need help and you have to make money so you can hire help.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make 100 grand. Like if you're not, I had this mentor tell me, I was in this thing called Brain Makers. Listen, if you ain't making $10,000 a month, you don't have a business, you have a hobby.
Mm.
Now, I softened it. This is how it was told to me, right? So if I'm talking to, newer people, I try to nicen it up. I say, look, if you're not making 4 grand a month, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. But I tell him, I said, listen, the room I was in, he said 10. Okay. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to be nice. And but you gotta, going back to my dad's thing, says business and feelings have nothing to do with each other. So it's like get around people. I always try to, here's another principle. I try to get in rooms where Curtis is the dumbest person there. So I'm always
Mm-hmm.
trying to stretch myself. And I learned this playing ball. My friends were like all public and that kind of stuff. So I would go play ball with them and be in leagues. And I'm always at the edge of my ability, trying to play my best so they won't make fun of me. Right. And, and so that forced me to get better. Right. And I think in business, you got to get around other business people. You got to get around people where they'll challenge you to, you know, so you don't think you're like the top of the heap. You can always get better. And I think you should focus on getting better like every quarter. Like don't just show up and make the donuts, to quote an old commercial.
So
Um, yeah, go ahead. I'm
let
off
me
that
ask you
tangent.
this. No. Let me ask you this. You mentioned your feelings about mutual funds, ETFs, and like you if you're putting money into your 401k and things like that, then you're just getting the funds rich. You're just getting the money managers rich, which I agree with that to a certain extent. Um, I completely agree with you need cash flow. So and I can give you like a quick example, right? So a while back ago, maybe in 2020, I purchased my first ATM, and it was like an extremely cash flowing business. I've been able to build up a few ATMs. I'm working on getting some more, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
great cash flowing business, and I love it. I'm
Yes.
like, it's a great
Yes.
decision.
Yep.
So with that, I bought some land, just raw land, and it's not cash flowing. And of course it'll appreciate over time, but like you said, you can't eat that equity, you can't eat appreciation. So even though that's cool for the future, it's like I could have bought more cash flowing assets, or I could have did something that would just produce me more monthly income, so I don't have to work a day job or whatever the case may be. But you know I still do believe that like people should invest for their retirement, invest for the long term, and like diversify their money outside of just the business. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what if you
Oh,
don't?
yes, completely.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay.
But see, all right, so let me define invest. So there's 4 asset classes. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. There's business,
Mm-hmm.
real estate,
Mm-hmm.
paper, and commodities. So when people hear max out your 401k, mutual funds, first of all, Warren Buffett says diversification for people that don't know what they're doing.
Right. He
Okay.
did say
All
that.
right. Right. And so, but let's talk about paper. See, paper, when you say investing, most people, I would say you are talking about mutual funds, ETFs, probably crypto. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so my 3 rules of investing are this: invest in what you know, or invest in knowing, invest in what you could control, don't chase returns. All right. So
Mm.
if you're not willing to invest in knowing, then yeah, by all means, fund these paper assets, but you don't know who's managing the fund. I ask people on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me what you know about the stock market. Oh, I'm a 3. Okay. What who manages the fund your money's in? Can't tell you. What stocks are in the fund? Well, you're not investing. Okay. To invest means to investigate, right? To
Mm.
cover fully. And so Warren Buffett's mentor, so let me give you my definition of investment. And I'll go back into paper, right? Is Warren Buffett's mentor, Benjamin Graham. So it's a book called The Intelligent Investor, right? He
Mm-hmm.
says investment is something in which you put your money into where your principal, you have safety of principal. So that means you put in 10 grand, you're supposed to get back 10 grand. Okay.
Right.
And you have a reasonable opportunity to make a profit on that $10,000. And if he says that so principal safe, right? So
Right.
that leaves out all the mutual funds. Okay. Reasonable opportunity to make a profit. Okay. And if it doesn't fit that definition, he would call it speculating. And that book is about the stock market, right? And so because he was, and so I look at that. So I'm not saying not do it, but don't not know what you're doing, right? And so when you
Right.
look at paper, this is kind of what our show is about. My show is to show people, especially people that look like you and I, there's more than one way to skin a cat. All right.
Right.
And so
Right.
I talk about the 4 asset classes. You can buy businesses. I had a woman just bought what's it called? What do you make t-shirts? Silk screening business for
Mm-hmm.
150,000. The owner sold it and she paid cash for it. I would have financed it, but she bought it outright. She had it. And they paid themselves $80,000 a year of it. The 2 partners, they pay themselves $40,000 a year, a year each. So she's bought a business that's up and running, has customers, that's already generating $80,000 a year. So if she knows a little bit about marketing, she can build on that. She's going to hire somebody, pay them 50 grand to run it. So what does she have? She's got a $30,000 a year asset, and she doesn't have to run. Now, she's going to work a little bit, but she doesn't have to. So buying is the new starting. One of the things I'm trying to turn our people onto is that, listen, there's tons of businesses for sale where the kids don't want the business. All these baby boomers are 67 years old. I'm in this mastermind group. That's what they talk about, buying it. And I this woman, and she bought a doormat business for 200,000. She's in my I'm bringing her on my show, and she's pulled together. She looks at a new business every like 18 months. She has a business broker and she's looking. So she's cobbled together 4 businesses. Last year, her business did damn near $8 million,
Mm-hmm.
all virtual. And that she started like 15 years ago for a $200,000 investment.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
I don't know
incredible.
what mutual fund is going to do that for you. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And so, but she's runs it. She's the operator of it. But for me being, that's why you say getting better groups, I never thought about that. I've interviewed a few people on it. So it's business. I got one of my clients, he has like 8 ATMs. He's making about $3,500, $4,000 a month on
Mm-hmm.
ATM. I have about 3 clients. I got one trying to buy one. I had this young girl, she bought 10 and they are placing them for her. And she's got none of them aren't doing well, but one of them is doing like $1,500 a month. I don't know, where you, the strip
Mm-hmm.
club or something? So she's killing it. But they'll move it around for her. And so that is she probably had that thing up to like $5 grand a month by the end of the year. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so paper is, so I have a clients that do private lending. So they don't want to do real estate. They have enough, they saved up enough that they just loan to people and, secured by the real estate, private lending. I got clients that do life settlements. I got clients that do tax liens. You can buy notes. I've got clients that do notes, make $20,000, $30,000 just buying the mortgages. So paper is a bigger conversation, but the problem is we don't save enough money so that you can't get into those because you think, oh, I got to be fully invested. And you want to put $200 a month in Robinhood or some BS like that, or you're trying to put money in a Roth where you can only save $6,000 a year. Y'all need to have 6 to 12 months of your capital, of your income, not in cash. So I'll get sitting in cash, but cash equivalent where you can access it. All right. Because if
Exactly.
you have money, opportunities will find you. You ain't got to go look at opportunities to buy
Exactly.
businesses. You've got to let your capital form. That's what I mean by capital formation. And then what happens is you look for assets where you can deploy your capital and have more money coming back to you. But that goes back to thinking long range. So anyway, I'm all over. I'm sorry, but that's the thing. I believe in that. I just don't like giving up control of money. I think that a lot of people like, oh, qualified plans. Well, qualified plans, let me hit that real quick since you brought it up. What do they do? Because I have all these business owners like, oh, these people tell them to put money into a SEP or that kind of stuff. You'll put in $50,000 in a SEP to save $10,000 in taxes, right? And so now you're giving up use of that money for 20, 30 years. Okay. People, the average American makes 90% of all Americans make less than $120,000 a year. Okay. So let's say you make 100. That means your effective tax rate is like 8.5%. So now if you put $10,000 in, you're saving $800 a year in taxes. So qualified plans don't save you money in taxes. They defer taxes. They postpone taxes. So now you pay 8% for the privilege of pulling it out at 20 or 30 because you've postponed the tax. We were saying don't hurry to a whooping, right? And so it's like you got to be in business, but you have to understand, you have to be financially literate. Financial literacy is really accounting, understand your paperwork, but you got to know how money works. You got to understand things like opportunity cost, taxation, the law. And I think that if you just get one type of stuff and you're not willing to learn about the other, you don't need to know it all, but business is a team sport, right? So you have to build, we help our clients build, we call it VAS team, our value added service team. So I'll introduce them to good tax people. And because I look at all their stuff, I introduce them to good people. Most people don't have umbrella coverages and proper liability coverages on their stuff. That most of our people, especially, are underinsured with their life insurance, no disability. And so I do some of that, but I just here's a good person, here's a good mortgage person, here's a whatever, and here's a good realtor. And we manage their team, kind of like I'm trying to bring with Practical Wealth a family office vibe to like rich people they have so much money, they just have teams of people and they go out and look at stuff to buy. And so you can kind of recreate that on a middle income, affluent, small business owner level. You just got to have people that you have access to that have disciplines. And you have to be, keep your eye on the main thing, which is your business. And then, but what do you do with your money? So I think you have to, because a lot of people, business owners, like they feel like they're gonna have this big liquidity event and sell the business and get all this money. You have to get financially free of the business. So while you're building the business, you need to be building cash flow. Right. So if you have a bad month, if you have a bad month, you got enough business stuff on the side that you're generating revenue, and then your business revenue is just running up the score. Because if you sell the business, you're still supposed to be rich.
Absolutely.
Not from this one liquidity event. And then when people make their wealth in the business, I was just on a succession planning webinar a couple of months ago, and then you give it to some stock guy to manage it for you. There's an old joke. How do you make $1 million on Wall Street? Start with 2 million. Okay, so I'm bad. I'm stepping on some toes, but I just want y'all to think about being in control of your money, and so because you'll have I want you to hear different points of view. And so what you got to do is hear stuff and then figure out what's good for you. Because I tell people, look, I try to get people to think. I don't want to tell them what they think, but you have to, one of the tenets of Think and Grow Rich is accurate thinking. And that's the least favorite of Napoleon Hill's laws, is accurate thinking, because we suffer from inaccurate thinking, short-term thinking, and hazy goals.
Mm-hmm. So no, I mean, I think you bring up a lot of like valid points, a lot of interesting points, right? So I work in trusted wealth management, where most of the clients that I work with have a net worth of roughly 300 million and above. So, and it's interesting because when I was working with like the smaller clients at different companies, so maybe 10 million to 50 million, they were investing in mostly stocks, but they got their money, they generated their wealth from business, like being
Yeah,
in
see, where
businesses,
they
right?
generate their wealth from the
Right.
business. They
E-
hold it in
exactly.
stocks because there are lots of them don't know better, but they don't make it in
Exactly.
stocks. That's my point.
Exactly. Right. And so now with the ultra high net worth clients, I'm seeing they don't even invest in stocks. They just invest in other family limited partnerships or limited partnerships, or and I'm like, that's interesting. Like you reach a level where you don't even, with stocks don't even appeal to you anymore. You want private equity, you want you have your closely held businesses and things of
Right.
that nature.
They want control. They want really
Exactly.
legal insider trading. Right.
Exactly.
And so that's
Exactly.
what I mean. Success leaves clues. So let's begin with the end in mind. How can you do that at whatever level that you are? That's what I'm trying to get people to get, because you can do that at 200
Mm-hmm.
grand. You can do that at 100 grand. You can begin to move towards, I don't care if you're starting a network marketing business on the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I told my accountant, listen, I want the Trump tax plan.
That's a fact.
And I was
Mhm.
telling somebody, I said, listen, y'all don't hate the player, hate the game. I said, what's the difference between uh his jet with Trump on the tail and your pickup truck where we buy houses?
Right. No
It's not.
difference.
You just don't understand the tax code.
So, how did you get started in this industry? Like, what gave you the initial spark to want to help people, manage their wealth, build wealth, and run their businesses more effectively, run their business like a business versus just being a hobby?
Yeah, I started, probably I was 20, and in college, my junior year in college, somebody showed me a check for $400 and said that's what I made for hours worth of work. And he took me to a meeting. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, really? And so I was in Winston-Salem and said, what do you have to do? You got to get your insurance license. Okay, well, how do I do that? I could go to Raleigh. I could go to Charlotte. Charlotte was closer, right? Oh, no, it wasn't closer. The test was closer. And I wanted to make money. So I said, what do I have to do? You need to study. Where's the book, right? Because I was already cramming for everything else. So 3 days, I, you know, drove to Charlotte, knocked the test out. I was finished early. I thought I did something wrong. These people are sweating bullets and I'm, passed on the first try. And then I was just down there, hustling. It's funny because I'm introverted. And so I started there and I just, was trying to make it happen and learning all I could learn. And I was like in the accumulation theory. Bottom investor difference was really the mantra of the company I was working with. And I ended up becoming a regional vice president with that company around 25-ish, 24, 25. And I did that for like 13 years. And then during that time, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that's what kind of shifted my thinking to that. Okay, it's kind of like what you discovered when you look at high net worth people. I was like, they don't do this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I was pissed, right? Because how do I not know? I lived through 4 crashes and I got tired of people telling me, oh, don't worry, the market's going to come back. I was like, by then I started studying something called Austrian economics. I started understanding the business cycle theory, and you read The Creature from Jekyll Island. This stuff is not new, right? And so I have a mentor, Sir Nelson Nash, said, listen, if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. So I really started to, read different stuff. So I really, somebody said, if you want to have something from a black man, where do you put it? In a book. So I was determined I was not going to be that guy, right? And I needed to know stuff. I liked understanding why things worked, what made markets move, and I started really getting into that, because once you understand it, you can kind of see stuff coming. Like I was just on a call, I was teaching before we did this call with our clients. I said, look, we're in the eye of a financial hurricane, right? So it might seem, oh, rates are coming down, gas prices are coming down. No, it's we're in the eye. So when you go on the other side of the eye, we're about to go back through that wall again. And I think that you have to be prepared. Nobody has a working crystal ball, but you can prepare and position yourself to go on offense real fast. So by knowing what's going on, knowing how to protect it. What happens when we have higher inflation? How do you protect yourself, but profit from that. Really, how do you
Mm-hmm.
profit from that? So I'm not like sitting in a bunker waiting for stuff. I mean, you know, it's on the other side of the Chinese symbol for chaos. The other side of that is opportunity, right? So you have to be able to pivot. And so I basically grew up through that, and then I would just keep adding pieces of knowledge. I got good at teaching. What I found is that teaching sells, if you will. So I don't really sell as much as I try to be a financial educator. And I think that if you teach stuff, I believe people are smart, right? I don't go into it with you don't the financial world tells you, well, you're not smart enough, you don't have the time, the temperament, the personally manage your own money, give it to us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I believe 2 + 2 is 4, right? And I don't think it's that deep. And so I feel like if you share with people, you're transparent, you show people how stuff works, and you could do this, or this, I think you can let them choose, and then I'll let them make them tell me why they chose that, because it's your money. Like, I need you to own it and understand why you made these decisions. I don't try to talk about it into nothing. And so I kind of built my business on that premise, on educational based marketing. Right. And so that helped me. And then another thing, I think that along that line, around 2009 or 10, I discovered we call Planet Dan Kennedy. Okay, magnetic marketing. And I discovered that, okay, really, Curtis, you're in the marketing business. So who's my ideal client? Who do I like working with? I like working with entrepreneurs. I grew up, I struggled. And one of the things that we're moving into now, a second business we created, was Practical Wealth Education. And we're going to start doing courses on marketing and business development, because marketing was the keys to the kingdom. And I was struggling with that. My income was up, income down the next month. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had a month where I made 20 grand, and the next month I made 3, right? And so if you're doing that, you're always in scarcity, right? Because you're afraid to invest in your business or move money out because you don't know where it's coming in. Most people live in a constant state of scarcity like that. And what you got to do, or you go on vacation and you're not present, right? Because you're still all that stuff. So I was tired of that stuff. I still, because I'm, kind of a hard charger. So I still haven't totally relaxed that. That kind of helps me make money because I'm unsatisfied. But I think that you want to be able to know that I can build a business that works, so I can be with my family and be there, like be at the beach, and not be on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff where I want you to live that kind of life, which we're starting to experience. And how do you do that? But you have to have a vision of that and begin with the end in mind. So we're kind of like, all right, here's how you handle your money, and then here's how you can grow. So with the Dan Kennedy, now Russell Brunson stuff, I'm in the funnel hacking live. I'm going to Mexico in a couple of weeks for the 2 Comma Club Mastermind in Paradise. And it's where I can get around people that are making 5, 10, $20 million a year, where I'm gonna talk marketing for like 5-6 days, like going to basketball camp for me. Like, I couldn't think of nothing I'd rather do to play ball 8 hours a day, right? And so being around these brilliant, successful entrepreneurs and talking shop and seeing, you come away with one idea, it'll change. That's all I need. 1, 2, 3 good ideas that I can implement. So you can't just hear all this stuff. Like, I've thrown out all this stuff. Listen to this again and pick one thing and implement. Read one book and get an idea and say, I'm going to try this quarter, is what I try to do.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned you're headed to a conference to talk about marketing and to network. And that networking is still a strong priority for you. What are some of the benefits that you've seen and you've experienced from being able to network and talk to different people and mix with different crowds?
Oh my God. So what I tell people, let's back in this. Your number one asset is you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you invest in? Your mindset, what you read, watch, listen to, hang around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your skill set, what you know how to do. See, if y'all don't make enough money, that means you don't have enough skills so you can command more money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you work on your skills. So part of that's networking. And then networking, who do you know, but who knows you, right? So do you work at being an expert? So just getting around masterminds I've been in, where I've learned stuff like, okay, all these, like, I was in an insurance thing. Most of these guys had people to handle the paperwork. So I'm still doing everything. And I'm realizing all these top earners making $400,000 or $500,000, $800,000 a year, they don't do no paperwork. How did their business run, right? And you get around that, and then you see that, okay, they're doing this level of productivity. I'm doing all right, but there's another level. So I always tell people compete, but don't compare. But you want to have a vision. You can't expand your own vision. So that was one of the things networking did for me. I go to networking events. So when I go to networking events, let's talk about specific tactical thing. I don't go looking for clients, because if you go to like an event, a meetup, nobody's there to buy anything. So stop going there to sell something. Okay. When I go to those events, I am looking for strategic alliance partners, right? So a marketing, one of the top things you can do, top 3 or 4 things you can do in marketing is strategic alliances or joint ventures, right? So once you've identified who's your ideal client, then you can ask yourself, well, who else works with them? You're like, that don't compete with me, but we can complement each other, right? So I've got tax people, 2 or 3 tax people I send people to, and they're starting to send people to me, because if you want to get referrals, you got to give referrals, right?
Right.
I've got mortgage people. I've got property and casualty people that don't really do life and disability insurance, or they have the licenses, but they don't really focus on it. So then it's legal for us to do what I call joint work, where we can share commissions, right? And I'm licensed in it, but I don't want to do it, right? Because to me, it's a specialty, and you need, especially on commercial stuff, you need somebody that this is their thing, right? Because there's too many things they can miss and you're not protected when you think you are. And real estate agents, you could say, okay, personal trainers work with upper middle income people. So I would make a list of, here's the people I want to meet that could serve my clients, so that I want to be like the Shell answer man. I want people to, you need a good contractor, you need a good plumber. I'm collecting and vetting. Now I might we might do a coffee somewhere, so I can get to know you and get to know who's your ideal client and what you're looking for. Let me tell you, if you just got good at that this quarter, I had a real, she's a mortgage coach, but that one strategy she had $100 million mortgage business based on that one strategy, and she made $100 million in volume off of 23 strategic alliance partners that was sending her business, and she was sending them business, and with no other marketing. So y'all are about, I got to get on social media, I got to do this and that. Find people that already know the people that you want to meet. If you get introduced, that's what's it called? Endorsement. They can endorse you. Hey, this is my friend, da da da, and they don't shop you. It's better. So as a business owner, you can be thinking about, it's like, would you like fries with that? What else, if I'm a realtor, what else do they need if they sell a house? Could you introduce somebody to do Ring doorbells, right? Could you know any landscapers, any contractors, and they're willing to pay Valpak or something to acquire a customer? Maybe they're willing to give you 15% of for the lead that you can introduce them. Why? Because you're serving your clients, make it, instead of them shopping for somebody, you can give them a good person, right? And so that's a value add for them. You can make a little bit of money on the back end, but you see how you got to think about that. So when you're networking, so it should be an active part of your business development strategy, is networking. A better way is to do events where you host. And so instead of you running around, you are the man, right? You host meetups where you're bringing people to you. And so if you're the host, you're the leader, right? And so I'd rather do events, so one of the things is from this book, Book Yourself Solid. Or no, it's another one. It's called Duct Tape Market. It's one of those 2 books. Always have something to invite people to. Always have a webinar, always have an event. So even if they don't come, hey, I'm having this event, would you like to stop by? Well, you're having an event, you must be important. You must be an authority. You must be a whatever. You see what I mean? That's gold right there. So that's how I network, if that makes sense. That's a long answer, but hopefully that was useful for somebody.
Nah, that was extremely useful, man. Like I said, you've been dropping gems this whole episode. And I was letting you know before we got started recording. I'm in Reno, Nevada right now, but next month in April, I'm going back home and I'm doing 2 events, like 2 free financial workshops. And what I'm really looking forward to, like one of them, one of the workshops sold out, and then the other one, I'm not sure what the sales that are on that one, but I'm looking forward to like meeting the people after the talking portion or teaching portion is over. I'm looking forward to like networking and getting a chance to see, you know, um, who I can connect with, who I
Yeah.
can build new,
That's why you
meaningful,
bring them
impactful
together. And the
relationships
other
with.
good part of that is them networking with each other after your event.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, and then now you're like, oh, well, I met so and so. I've had events that I was telling my wife, this one real estate group I'm in probably generated me 6 figures in revenue
Wow.
just off the people I've met there, because I was
Mm-hmm.
involved and I was there, and you know, I had a specialty that really served the real estate industry, the
Mm-hmm.
banking. So I'm kind of known as the bank, you know, infinite banking to, you know, Black real estate investors, teach them how to do, because I teach them how to do it correctly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's in. So I try to get myself in. I was teaching this before we got on. It's a book called The Blue Ocean Strategy. And so what, you know, most people are in a red ocean. They're trying to, they're commodities because you're fishing where everybody else is fishing and you just trying to yell louder and compete on price. I
Mm-hmm.
create a blue ocean. So I'm going to create a situation where I'm the only person there
Mm-hmm.
doing what I do. And so I always work to go where my competition isn't, and you know, have a unique selling propositions. Because if you're in business out there and you have to be able to answer, see, if you can't answer this, you don't have a business, you're a commodity, right? If you can't answer the question, why should I work with you versus any and all choices I have now, including doing whatever I'm doing now or doing nothing, and you can't articulate that in 90 words or less, you don't have a business, or you don't understand your business. You don't understand the problem that you solve for clients. And before I threw a lot of money at advertising and stuff, I need to have that down, because otherwise, what are you selling? Yeah, that's what you're selling. I'm here and I have a unique process that can solve a problem for you and create this result, because people buy
Mm-hmm.
results.
Exactly.
You got to sell the result. That's what they want. How can you help me? What's in it for me? WFIM.
People sell solutions. People, yeah. So if you can provide your clients, your customers a solution, then you're creating that value for them.
And when you have that value creation, there's an exchange of money, and
Yeah.
boom, they're happy, you're happy. That's capitalism. Okay. Don't run away from that either. You hang all these, and I have to re-indoctrinate my kids from all these Marxist college professors every time they come home. Right. I said, look, I make more money
Absolutely.
than all your professors. You need to listen to me. So
What are some roadblocks or lessons that you learned throughout your career?
um I learned you got to stay. One, I was in the marketing business, so I really need to get good at that, and worry less about product knowledge. So many people are concerned with learning all this stuff as opposed to, you know, getting their message out there and refining that. I've learned that there is nothing. This is a biggie that Curtis May can't do because he's Black. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I used to think other races wouldn't do business with me, and but if I'm good and I can bring value to your life, then I'm going to attract people to me that I'm destined to serve, right? So I focus on putting information out there, and our message, my bit of a contrarian message, is resonates with people, and that's the thing. And then just think long range. You got to stay at it. You got to give your efforts time to compound. Make sure you're in a good market. A lot of people go into business because they want to, this is their dream and this is what they want to do, right? This is my passion. Nobody cares about your passion. Okay. Right. People want, a business is this: a customer, a mechanism, and a result, right? So they want their results. And now if that's your passion, which is the process to get them that result, that's fine. But if not, then your passion is your hobby, but you need to do something that you shouldn't hate it, but you need to focus on, how can I serve my clients? You know, I one thing, you know, so one of the roadblocks is lack of clarity about who your market is, what your business does for people. And I'm constantly working at refining that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at this point in your career, I mean, over 25 years in the financial service industry, how do you define success?
I actually define success as, how many clients am I? So one of the things I track, I don't really track like sales I've made or revenue. I do track it, but what I track is how many So we teach a 1-page financial plan called the Personal Financial Snapshot, and I teach these principles. So what I track in our marketing is how many people am I taking through the process, because our process is designed to help our clients become and remain financially free. So how many clients are we moving towards financial freedom is what I track. So are my clients winning is the most important thing, because I know if they win, I'm going to win, right? You know, Zig Ziglar said, if you help the people get what they want, you'll get everything you want. So I've tried to shift my brain to, can I be more valuable to more people? And so that's where I see us going. I'm refining that. I'm starting to expand and hire other advisors if I can find people that believe what I believe. So I'm finding I can't do that with people that are already in the industry. I got to get new people. Mostly if I have clients that Curtis, they're passionate about what we've taught them and they want to learn how to do it. What I do and either change careers or add it on to what they're doing. So we're going to expand a little bit, because it's only so many people I can see. So I need to I have a mission to create, really everybody, but if you pin me down, I want to create over the next decade 100,000 financially free African American folks, right? And so that's to me, you have to be involved in something bigger than you, bigger than money. And so I have to involve a lot of other professionals involved in helping them do that. And so I'm looking for people that want to, whatever they're doing, if they're a realtor, if they're a mortgage person, we all work for them. Our goal is to make our clients rich. That should be how you define success. Now thinking that way has, made me one of the top financial professionals in the country. So, but I think you can't chase money. I think you have to be involved in something that's bigger than money.
You're the host of the Practical Wealth Show podcast. What are some benefits that you've seen since you started your podcast and begin that whole process or that entire journey?
One, you get to read really cool people. I have to do a better job of staying in touch with people after either I'm on their show or on my show, because man, these are great people. So we have a membership, and what I'm realizing, okay, all these people are willing to come back, and I can get like masterminds, like private meetings for my members. So now I'm starting to reach back out. Hey, do you have a program that you didn't want to talk on air out that you sell? Let's come in and let's do a joint venture. So talk about joint ventures. A lot of these people have good what do they call affiliate programs where they have something I like that I think is good to help people implement, because you can hear about it, but until you implement, it doesn't do you any good. You just got entertainment. I'm trying to provoke action, okay, when I work with people, right? And so that's one of the things. It also has helped me professionally, as it builds authority. Like one of the ways, even if you're not a content expert, I actually, at this point in my career, I am a content expert, but it's like that Robin Harris joke. I don't need to be the man. I can be the man next to the man, right? So if I'm the man next to the man I'm interviewing, and let's say I got Grant Cardone on my show, well, which is on my list. Dennis Kimbrough is on my Dream 100 list, and Rabbi Daniel Lapkin. So I'm starting to work through this is going on our 5th year, so now I'm working through my Dream 100. But looks like you took notes while I'm talking. Most of the time, the podcast is free consulting for Curtis. So I'm asking stuff I want to know. How do you do this? I was talking to a tax person. Well, how do you pay your kids properly, right? And how do you do this? And how does the Hummer rule really work? Where I can write my $6,000 car work? Because you'll hear all these half truths on IG and on TikTok, and so I just bought a $100,000 G-Wagon. But there's stuff you don't just write it off your taxes. You got to do some stuff. Right. And so that's my pet peeve of just, half information, people selling programs based on hopes and wishes, and dealing with a certain group of people's propensity to consume. So you're going to flash a big house and a boat and a Lambo, and, but there's some work that has to be done there. And most people don't understand the work. What is the work? Kobe shot 1,000 shots a day. Okay. Why? He was a good ball player. Like, I remember when I was in high school, I read George Gervin. So for y'all young people, that's Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant, Charles Gervin, right? I read George Gervin shot 600 shots a day. Guess what I started doing? in around my sophomore year. I had a buddy of mine. We would work out during the summer, and we would have drills, full court 1-on-1, and we would jack up, in different drills, 400 or 500 shots a day. Well, I was one of the top scorers in Philly when I graduated high school, right? But I success these clues. So if you're in business, I do that in business. Who's winning? And I'm really good at looking at them, finding articles about them, or I'm in the ClickFunnels, funnel hacking, so I can see, not copying, but what are the processes that I can, kind of swipe and deploy into my business. See, a lot of people just, you need to be learning all the time. You got to be a learning machine. You got to be aware. My dad used to always say, well, how does it work? Dad, I was working at this clothing store. I was like, I hate it. He would go, could you run a clothing store if you wanted to? If you had one? No. Well, why don't you pay attention? Stop complaining, right?
Right.
So how do they make money? What's the wholesale price? Who are the salespeople? What do they cost? How do the owners? I knew the owners are multimillionaires. How did they think? Right?
Mm-hmm.
How did they have, and so it became a classroom, because I would I would tell my kids that, well, how does this work? You're working at such and such. Well, where do their customers come from? Can you help them get more customers? Can you use all this social media stuff and show them how to take the people off of social media and get them into that store, right? And so if you can learn how to do that, listen, you can make as much money as you want to make. Marketing is the key to the kingdom.
Activity produces knowledge.
Activity produces knowledge. Yeah,
I like that.
That is my thing. Like, I'm not afraid to try stuff and mess up. My dad's like, you got to screw up. You learn by screwing up. You don't learn by the school is the only place, so Robert Kiyosaki would say, where nobody cares what your GPA, not GPA, your GPA is, grade point average is, when you get out of school. Now your grades are based on your financial statements, but they don't teach people how to read financial statements. And so that's what you got to learn. That's what our kids have got to learn, and they got to be tougher. I'm so soft right now. And their feelings are hurt, they're quick to cry, oh, it's racist out there. So what? Okay, maybe it is, but you still have to win.
Exactly. What does the future of Practical Wealth Advisors look like to you?
I'm excited. Like, people say, well, what about the recession? I says, one, I'm choosing not to participate in the recession. My business grew during the pandemic. Okay.
Right.
And I just see the need for financial education, the need for, as people are tired of the roller coaster Wall Street, of what I call the big casino, they have a what's the word? A flight to safety. And so my products are designed for people not to lose money, right? And so that's resonating with people. They don't know how life insurance works. So life insurance should be the foundation of your financial plan. And so it's like a financial Swiss Army knife that I'm still learning about, and I'm pretty good. And I still learn, stuff about how to use it as a place to store your liquidity, and you can leverage it to go buy. My clients put money in insurance, they go buy real estate. I've enough people in permanent insurance policies where they don't even need a hard money lender. They're their own bank.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've been saving a lot of money for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's not from the insurance, it's from putting money in. You have to capitalize. So you have to run it like a second business. That's the big mistake when you see it out there, the big lies. Oh, I can get this. And, don't get me started with that. That's another topic. But basically, we see that as a opportunity I think that's growing, of understanding that, showing people how to do it right, and getting people to really learn how to control their personal economy. I think that I think even though there's a lot of stuff going on, I believe that presents a huge opportunity for me to teach clients how to get control of their money. So I don't say stuff to scare people. I want to show, okay, this is what's going on. Because people, think about this, have not people, even during depressions and recessions, don't they make even more money?
Right. Exactly.
Right. So if you're prepared and you're educated, you're in position to profit from all this, volatility that's going on. And so you have to work on your skills. Jim Rohn used to say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get better.
Absolutely.
That's Curtis, how I think. about all things. Get better. I'm not good enough. I got to get better.
Absolutely. Curtis May, thank you so much for your time today, man. I mean, you dropped the unlimited amount of jewels on this podcast episode, man. I got a page full of notes right now. It's been a huge honor for me. And I want to make sure that we can get a part 2 in for this. So I'll make sure to circle back and make sure we get connected again, because I'm definitely gonna need your wisdom and this information back on the podcast, if you wouldn't mind.
Just let me know. Listen, it's a lot of work to be done out here. And hopefully I share 1 or 2 things that can help, especially for business owners, right? Or people that aspire to that. I think that there's so much misinformation out there, and you really have to dig in and be in control of your money. I just thought about, I have a free report that if you don't mind me sharing.
Yeah, please do.
If they text Be The Bank, all one word, all capitals, to 55444, they'll get a free report from us called The Value of Liquidity. And they'll put them on our mailing list, so they can kind of keep track of what we're doing. And if you go to Practical Wealth Solutions, there's a bunch of things where you can get reports or log if you want to talk. He's kind of crazy, but I think I want to talk to him. You can go to my website or go to Instagram and go to my link tree, and it'll be a thing that says apply to work with Curtis. So, but yeah, anytime. I actually love talking about business stuff as much as I like to talk about financial planning stuff, right? I love, because to me, they're the same thing. It's just, if you're in business, your business is your primary tool for wealth creation, and a lot of people don't see that. And I like, really, because that's what I had to figure out, and I only know it because I got beat up and I had to figure this crap out myself. So this is not like a book knowledge. It's just me learning from people that make more money than me, and I was fortunate people were open and shared it with me. So if I can share it with some of y'all, I'm excited to do so. So Wesley, just let me know. I'm back anytime you want me.
Absolutely. Thank you.